Alright, let's finish this. Numbers 8 through 1. Number 8, Spider-Man Homecoming. I know a lot of people have already declared this to be the best one of the Spider-Man movies, but I just don't agree. It's good, but not that great. I stand by my original thoughts on this. It's the best one since the second film, but it's weaker than the first two films. Sorry. I'll admit, this one has a lot going for it, with Keaton being one of the best MCU villains. Ned is one of the funnier supporting characters, and yeah, Tom Holland is amazing in the film as Peter and Spider-Man. My problem with it, though, is that the film lacks a lot of emotional weight that we expect from the character. The Homecoming title also is not a very good title for this. I mean, it's a cute nod to the franchise returning to Marvel, but outside of that, it doesn't really impact the film at all, so it just feels weird that the movie names itself after a small plot point. In fact, outside a few early mentions of it, the dance wasn't even built up to as a big thing in the movie. Still, it's a solid entry into the franchise, and Iron Man is added quite nicely into the film without feeling forced, which is the kind of thing I want to see more in the future. Number 7, Doctor Strange. I'm honestly surprised that this is as high as it is. Look, way back when this was announced, I fully expected this to be the one I wouldn't like. After all, I've never liked the character before this, so why would I start here? Well, as it turns out, this turned out to be a real gem. While I thought the first act could have been shortened, I mean, realistically, the origin feels a bit too standard. But once the film gets going, it's an absolute joy. The visuals are incredible, we've got an awesome score in a Marvel movie, which isn't too common, and Cumberbatch is great in the title role. By the way, yes, the Ancient One being whitewashed isn't cool. But that's a whole complicated scenario, so I'm not even going to attempt to discuss it over here. To put it short, yes, it's wrong, but I'd be lying if I told you that Tilda Swinton isn't one of the coolest characters in the MCU to date. Seriously, she kicks ass here. One more reason why this gets high up there, Doctor Strange's cape is the MCU version of Aladdin's carpet. That's awesome and makes me love this version of Doctor Strange even more. Number 6, AntMan. I am not joking. Not even a little bit. I know a lot of you don't like this one that much, but screw you, AntMan is fantastic. While it's widely known that the film had problems during production, I am honestly happy to say that the film still feels like the vision of one director, Peyton Reed. Maybe the Edgar Wright version would have been better, but I'm honestly not going to imagine the better version when the one we got is still great. Paul Rudd is a great choice for such an odd hero. Michael Pena as Lewis is easily the funniest sidekick in the whole franchise, while the rest of the cast is fun to watch. Yes, even the villain. Please, Marvel, stop killing your villains. You'd have less of a villain problem if more of your villains would survive and come back. Back to Ant-Man though, one of its more charming aspects is the lack of a major fight in the first hour of the film. I'm a big fan of action, sure, but I can appreciate a superhero film deciding to dial it back every now and then. More character moments can be a major plus, especially when your hero's power is having the strength of a human. Number 5, Iron Man 3. Once again, yes, I am not joking. This is easily one of the best Marvel films. For real. Kingsley is great in the film. While the actual villain isn't as menacing, he is still pretty good. No, seriously, good over the awesome twist. Honestly, the worst thing about this movie is that apparently Rebecca Hall had a bigger part in this. Likely, she was the original villain. But sexism resulted in her role being diminished. Did I mention that this is one of the best Marvel films? Come at me. Number 4, Captain America, the Winter Soldier. So, I expect these last few to be pretty easy to figure out. Anyway, I know a lot of the more serious fans like to put this one at the top, but I just can't. Don't get me wrong, this is one fantastic film. With great villains, I mean, Robert Redford is great here, and he doesn't even fight Captain America at all. Plus, the stuff with Bucky is among the most emotional to date for the MCU. If I really had to complain here though, it's with Sharon Carter. She just feels like a tacked on character, added only so we can see that story start up. Still, the story is great, the action is great, the Russo brothers have become a great asset for Marvel. Seriously, the way they balance so many characters is impressive. I guess if this film has one more strength in it, is that apparently this film made Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. better. Which I guess is a good thing for the fans of the TV show, but I don't really care. Still, yay. Number 3, Captain America Civil War. Oh wow, Sharon Carter is much better here, making her appearance in the last film forgivable. Seriously though, that's how I felt after watching this one. As for the film itself, it is filled with emotion. Seriously, seeing the team being torn apart here and fighting is cool, yes, but it's sad. That final fight between Tony and Steve is just one long burn. Obviously, it's amazing to watch, but it's also hard to sit through without feeling even a little bit of pain. Also great, the villain. I know a lot of people overlook Zemo, but I think it's great to see a Marvel villain that has a master plan that isn't about fighting or destroying things. He is manipulating the heroes to fall apart. That's villainous enough. One more thing on him. The final confrontation between Black Panther and Zemo is mature and one of the best scenes in the franchise. Honestly, this movie just does so much right that even leaps of logic in this are forgivable, all in service to the emotional core of the story. Also, the addition of newcomers like Black Panther and Spider-Man just feels so natural that it's hard to really be bothered by much in the film. It's fantastic. Number 2, Guardians of the Galaxy. I love the Guardians. The second they announced that this was going to be a movie, I was rooting for it to be a success. Despite knowing so little about it, I wanted it to pay off, and I'm glad it did. The soundtrack is great, the cast is great, and the visuals are so out there, it honestly feels like the point where Marvel decided to go all in on making their movies feel bigger than reality. I mean, I know this shouldn't count given that it's not the actual movie, but the incredible trailer they released for this practically defined how most modern action trailers are cut. That's impressive. At the end of the day though, what makes this one so great is that it feels like the perfect version of what it wants to be. That's not an easy feat. It's a fun, weird sci-fi adventure that harkens back to the classics like Flash Gordon, Star Wars, and plenty more. It's so incredible that there was really only one way that this could be topped. Number 1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Yup, the sequel. Now, some of you might think that this is because it's more recent, but you're wrong. Incredibly wrong. See, Guardians 2, much like the original, feels like a perfect version of what it wants to be. But it has major improvements. The movie is hilarious, much like the first one, but it strikes a much more emotional tone than its predecessor. The family theme is there again, but it leads to some darker places that can relate to many on multiple levels. It's joyful, but it knows how to be somber, leading to the most emotional third act in any Marvel movie, MCU or otherwise. The villains here are massive improvements over the first movie, and I'm one of the few people who actually thought Ronan was pretty cool. Most of all though, it expands on the weirdness to present ideas that are far more out there. Crazy in a way sci-fi can be, yet still relatable and human. Sure, it's a movie about space people fighting evil, but that evil is layered, representative of the toxic nature in men, which is not something you often see. If there is one thing that I preferred in the original though, it's the soundtrack, and even then, this movie has the more memorable, and emotional at that, moments that implement the songs. If Guardians 1 was perfection, then this goes above and beyond that. That's the list. Do you agree? Disagree? Well, comment below and let me know. P.S. Yes, I saw Thor Ragnarok. It's great. I can't exactly pin down where it's going to be at right now, but I am feeling like it's probably going to rank higher than Winter Soldier. Still, I'm letting it sink in before I even rank it. So, until then, see you next time. If you enjoyed this, please support me on Patreon. Also, look up my blog at www.psycams.com. Thanks for watching.